Hello and welcome to the Forces Sports Show, your weekly roundup of the best action and biggest stories from across the services, coming up in the next half hour. Double delight for Germany. The Army's men and women's teams are beaten in their Remembrance games. Tamed by South Africa, the touring Springboks proved too good for the UK Armed Forces women. But it's success for the Navy. They see off Australia to win the Armistice Challenge Cup. We start with a big day of international remembrance football in the city of Nottingham. The men and women of the British Army took on their counterparts from the German Bundeswehr in two matches staged just a few hours and a short distance apart. Both the Army sides were beaten, but as John Knighton reports, it was a poignant and memorable occasion for the thousands who came to watch.
Part one of a double-header of Remembrance football and a great reception from the young people of Nottingham, with thousands of schoolchildren invited to Notts County's Meadow Lane for the women's match. The German forces started the better, with the British Army girls forced on the back foot. Army goalkeeper Jessica Hawley was called into action twice early on, but could do nothing to stop the visitors from taking the lead halfway through the first half. They won the ball in midfield and Sarah Begunk found herself unmarked to score. The British Army should have been level from a corner just before half-time. Zoe Stewart ghosted in to the far post unchallenged, and only she'll know how she failed to score from point-blank range. Right on half-time, the Germans could have had a second. A brilliant save from Jessica Hawley to deny Sabrina Braunschweig. That continued in the second half as Hawley produced a player-of-the-match performance with a string of saves. The British women could have levelled it again from a corner, but it was cleared. And as the match opened out, the Germans got their second. Another fine save from Hawley fell into the path of Begunk for her second goal. The Army got their reward for unfailing efforts with Olivia Dixon's stoppage time strike, but it wasn't quite enough. The German women victorious and the better side.
So we took away some real positives, Jess Horsley, the goalkeeper, great performance. Sometimes not great as a head coach that your goalkeeper's got the player of the match, but I think the Germans are a very well organised athletic side, and we see that across all spectrums of football. Their national sides are exactly the same, and for a part-time side like ourselves to come up against a side with so much quality, I think the girls did themselves proud.
Obviously for the obvious reasons, 100 years since the end of the First World War, and that's not, we don't forget that, that's why we're ultimately here. But this here, I don't know the numbers, but this is probably the most I played in front of. And the noise, these kids that have come from all the schools around the area today have been absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much if you're watching and you've been here today, because you didn't stop screaming.
As they'd done earlier in the day at Notts County for the women's match, the people of Nottingham embraced the game of remembrance totally. More than 6,000 at the City Ground for the game. Callum Wilkinson nearly scored in the first minute for the team in red. But it was the Germans who had the better of the earlier encounters. A brilliant shot from Holger Wolf parried onto the bar by Army keeper Luke Kearney. It was a sign of things to come, as in a devastating 10-minute spell the Germans scored 3 times. From a corner the ball flew out to captain Alex Hess, who lashed it into the net. Then it was 2-0. A brilliant shot from outside the box by midfield maestro Eric Scharf gave Kearney no chance. It should have been 3 when Yannick Wolf was put clean through, only to chip the ball wide. He then made amends moments later with a thunderous header past Kearney. There seemed little way back for the British Army players, but right on half-time a Sam Atkinson free kick was met perfectly by captain Rob Farkins, 3-1 to give the British Army players hope. After the break, the players in red gave it their all to try and reduce the deficit. On 66 minutes, Dan Stoneman had a chance but shot straight at the German keeper. And their best opportunity came close to the end. Substitute Graham Williams scuffed his shot when he really should have scored. 3-1 the result, but a game that was played in a great spirit was the real winner.
It was a great turnout. When you're looking around, not many players will experience that ever again. So we can't thank the people of Nottingham for coming out and supporting it. Unfortunately, the result wasn't the one we wanted, but I hope they enjoyed the day.
It's very important for us because in the sports, football, we were opponents, but I guess the result doesn't matter because we're getting friends with the English team, and the motto "Friendship through sports." We lived the motto, and it was very important for us today.
So the honours go then to the visiting German Bundeswehr teams, winning both the men's and the women's games here in Nottingham, but two terrific games of football which certainly pay tributes to the fallen of 100 years ago.
Well, the first of two rugby remembrance matches involving the UK Armed Forces saw the women's team beaten by South Africa. The tourists won the game 31 points to 12 at Roslyn Park in southwest London. But as Kath Brazier reports, the contest was much closer than the scoreline suggests.
For the last few years, this game has been held in Cardiff against Wales, but a match-up in the capital against a touring South Africa side was too good an opportunity to pass up. An early try for UCAF debutante Ruth Harper, successfully converted by Lou Dodd, got the game off to a roaring start, but the Boks hit back with 3 first-half scores of their own. Wing Alana Lee Horn bagged 2, while Azay Sahele powered over for the first of her brace to make it 7-17 at half-time. The physical encounter continued into the second half, with both teams vying for position. So much so that there wasn't another score until 70 minutes. Sarah Batley finally and deservedly crossing over from this well-worked line-out. That brought the hosts within 1 score, but an intercept try from the fast feet of Nosifiwo Goda turned the tables in South Africa's favour. Hele scored her second as the whistle went for full time, and the visitors took the game 12 points to 31.
Definitely in a UCAF shirt, that was probably one of the most physical games I've ever come against. They threw the kitchen sink at us. They give it everything, and so did our girls. It took us a while to figure out how to break them down, and we started really well, which we haven't done in past years, which is what our focus was going into this camp. All this week was a focus on making sure that we were calm and we were in control in the first 10 minutes. So I'm really happy with how that's gone. It's all about the pop-in, and it's all about remembrance, and it's just about us as a force coming together. It's not often you get to come together and do the things that you love. Usually on operations, you're not doing the things you love. You're there and you're missing your family. So for us, we are a rugby family, and it's so good to come and play together.
The UK Armed Forces men hold their remembrance game at Ashton Gate on the 15th of November.
The Royal Navy Rugby League team have won their 3-match series against their Australian counterparts with a game to spare. They secured the Armistice Challenge Cup with an emphatic 36 points to 4 victory in Portsmouth. Kath was watching.
Winning 36-20 in the first game at Wakefield, the Royal Navy were favourites, but their second performance proved far more dominant than the first. Putting points on the board within the opening 3 minutes gave them the impetus they needed to run riot over the Aussies. Jack Basher making the distance, Gavin Duffy with the touchdown. Basher again picked the right line, creating space for Sean Horton to double the lead in the corner, Darren Bamford slotting home the conversion. The defence this team pride themselves on was evident as they prevented any Aussie score in the first 40, even during a sustained 15-minute period where Australia had the majority of the ball. Their hard work paid off, as once back in possession, it was Horton again as the hosts led 14-0 at half-time. In reply, the Australian Navy could only muster 4 points, scoring just after the break through Dave Catterall. The Navy hit straight back with Darren Bamford dancing through the defence, then converting his own score. But tempers finally reached boiling point at 20 points to 4, resulting in sin bins for both sides. Defying derision in the crowd, Rocco Kurosasa finished off a true team effort with this fantastic score in the corner. Then, fresh from his time-out, Nathan Lee delighted his teammates with a try. As Sean Casey took over the kicking duties, the senior service ran in the last of 7 tries. The final one, and his second, deservedly awarded to man of the match, Darren Bamford. The home side victors, 36 points to 4.
Looking at the score from the first game and this game, this definitely looked like your stronger game. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think at Wakefield in the first game, we piggybacked them, we gave them too many penalties away in the fifth, so we cut that out today. Started creeping in a little bit, but our defence, especially at middles, our middles was fantastic.
Army skier captain Jen Kehoe is the ski guide for Paralympian Menna Fitzpatrick. Having won 4 medals at the 2018 Winter Paralympics, the pair were presented with MBEs last week. The Golden Girl of Forces Winter Sports has been chatting about her incredible year and looking ahead to another season on the slopes. They've been rolling out the red carpet for Army skiing star Jen Kehoe since she and Menna Fitzpatrick won gold for Team GB at the 2018 Winter Paralympics. Following their barnstorming display on the slopes of Pyeongchang, plaudits poured in. With award season now underway, high-profile sporting honours are mounting up for the pair.
The Sunday Times Sportswoman of the Year in the disability category we won last week, which was incredible, especially amongst some really talented athletes. And we have also been nominated for the BT Sport Action Women of the Year, which is also very exciting.
You know, you're up against some fantastic athletes there. So, you know, again, are you sort of pinching yourself when you arrive at these award ceremonies and seeing the calibre of athletes around you? And then does that, in the same process, install the confidence in you that, yeah, I can rub shoulders with these guys?
There are 2 things that make me really proud. One is that, particularly for the BT Sport, and then there have been a few others where we've been in a similar position, we are nominated alongside the able-bodied athletes, and that is awesome for disability sport, to start being recognised at the same level. Fab. The other thing is, for me, as somebody who joined the army, you know, and didn't know what my career was going to be, I certainly did not join the army to be an athlete. It is the army who has helped me to start this journey and who supported me along the way. So to be able to stand here now, being nominated for these awards as an army athlete and represent is something I'm really proud of.
The latest addition to those glittering accolades is a rather special one. Jen and Menna were awarded MBEs for their sporting achievements and received them from Her Majesty the Queen at Windsor Castle earlier this month. The Royal Engineer Captain has also been nominated for this year's Army Sports Awards. Her name will feature alongside some of the best military athletes. A recent recipient of the prize is Heather Stanning. That Jen's sporting success mirrors that of one of Britain's most decorated Olympians is no coincidence.
When I first met her, it was very much me being inspired by her journey and what she'd achieved, and since coming back from the Paralympics she actually has been a real mentor in how to manage my career, how to manage the outside world, and you know, it has changed our lives winning a gold medal, but it's been really valuable having the experience of the likes of Heather and other athletes to help guide us on this journey.
And of course, you know, there you are up at the Army Sports Awards. That says an awful lot. Your thoughts when that nomination came through?
Delighted, to be honest. It's a huge event in the Army calendar, and as you said, there are some great names up there and some great competition this year, so it's going to be a really good evening.
As an elite Army athlete, Jen juggles her military career alongside a hectic sporting schedule. The focus will soon be on the racing calendar, and there is much for her and Menna to look forward to.
We've got the World Championships coming up in January. We have World Cup races starting in December. And alongside all of that, we kind of recognise that we now have a responsibility to go and share our story and go out as ambassadors for the Army and for disability sport, and to try and inspire others to go and achieve their dreams.
So is that your next target in terms of competition, those World Cup events and the World Championships?
That's right, that's our focus for this year. And then the big one in 4 years' time is definitely in our sights, and we're going to be working towards Beijing 2022.
As Mena's guide, Jen helped the pair become Britain's most successful Winter Paralympians. As her career continues, she's blazing a trail for other Forces athletes to follow. The home ground of Heart of Midlothian in Edinburgh has been staging a play to tell the story of one of the first footballers' PALS battalions of the Great War. A war of two halves follows the Hearts players from volunteering to fighting on the front line. Dave McCann went to see one of the performances at Tynecastle Stadium.
We'd finished third in the league the previous season with a club record of 54 points. Then, in the early June, we defeated a Danish international 11 2-1 on an overseas tour. We were flying.
They were all conquering on the football field, winning their first 8 matches of the 1914-15 season. But the Hearts team were soon to hang up their football boots and pick up a rifle to fight in the famous McRae's battalion.
Your team, your boys are the best in the land.
We have a league to win.
And we have a war to win.
I know a lot of people in the football circles know the story, but I think it's important to bring it to the wider audience and people who may not have a particular interest in football, but obviously the story belongs to Edinburgh and Fife and the Lothians. It's real men, working men that left to go and serve for the country, so I think it's important that everybody knows the story.
Can I ask any player desiring to volunteer to be upstanding?
Colonel Sir George McRae tasked himself with raising 1,000 soldiers for the war effort. 16 players volunteered, followed by 500 fans from the terraces.
Thought as much.
Well, we have learned the art of sleeping on the mark. You simply close your eyes.
The play follows the players from volunteering to their basic training.
Oi, boy, come on, oi!
And through to the fighting on the Western Front.
To be performing and telling that story at this time of year in the run-up to Remembrance Sunday is just something else. It's so poignant and so important, I think, that people get to understand this story a little bit better.
I stand before you humbly as a fellow Scot. Nothing more, nothing less.
The home of Heart of Midlothian has changed a lot over the years, but the McRae's battalion is still fondly remembered by the club and supporters. And as we approach the centenary of the First World War's armistice, telling this story where the players plied their trade before joining up adds an added poignancy to the performance.
As a Hearts fan and a theatre maker, it's a kind of dream job really for me. I'm absolutely in my element, you know. I love doing it, love telling the story, love using Tynecastle in an interesting theatrical way. But clearly at this time of year it's even more poignant.
Falling with our lads, for we're off and away.
7 players from the Hearts side would never return from their service to the football field. Footballers from Dunfermline, Raith Rovers and Kilmarnock were also killed in action, and this play aims to make sure their sacrifice is never forgotten.
And that is it for this week. Don't forget you can see all the action as we get it on forces.net and this show and more on YouTube. We'll leave you with highlights from the Remembrance football and rugby matches. Bye for now.